Going start we're starting off the Southeast first. D-Lock, I'll let you go first. 5-1. Go ahead and give me your go ahead and give the people your list.
Well, for me, I think we did see a lot of big acquisitions this year. So I think you're going to see a mass change in a sense for most of these teams. But for me, I start at the bottom. I'll start with the Charlotte Hornets at the bottom. Pretty decent team, had a decent season, but clearly the mellow ball. It's like they're still trying to figure out what they have going on with that, that team put together. It just, for me, it's like they're trying to find their way. You still got, you need bigs bad. I mean, you lost Montrezl Harrell, who was making a huge impact. Gordon Hayward, we know what we're going to see from him. P.J. Washington, pretty solid. But I was expecting a lot more from this team last year, So pretty solid year for them last year, but it just didn't click to where I thought. But I also think, like I said, this year, I think these other teams made a huge improvement to where I haven't seen too much of what Charlotte was going to do in that offseason to make me think that they were going to make a mass difference. Okay, I hate to say it next, but I got Orlando Magic at 4. You're going to get Apollo, but this team is still very young. The thing that pissed me off about this team is you sign Mo Bamba back. And what does that do for you? I mean, we seen him last year. We seen how it went last year. So what does it do for your team? Like, grabbing him, put him in rotation with Wendell Carter. Got to see what's going to happen with Jonathan Isaac. Like, what does this, like, we're still kind of very young, and we want to still see what happens. So, now they, like I said, they made, a few pieces as far as the big draft pick, which I think Paulo's going to be the number one guy on this team. I think he's going to be one of the guys up for Rookie of the Year, actually. So, like I said, I think that he's going to play a huge part in this team. I just think that they're a couple, maybe a year or two away. And you already know my thing with this team is I want them to have, I want the organization, the front office to be patient and see what they can do. So I have them at 4. Next, I got the Washington Wizards. Now they went and I believe they got Will Barton. Am I correct?
Yes, they did get Will Barton. Yes.
So Will Barton was one of their biggest pickups. So basically, you got another shooter, kind of a defender, for Bradley Beal. That is a big pickup. You need somebody else to complement Bradley Beal. Obviously, you got Kuzma. KCP really ain't do too much. But I like the fact that they had to grab somebody else. Porzingis, question up. Obviously, if he can be healthy, that's what you really want to see what happens with him. I believe they went and got Monte Morris as well.
Yeah.
And going to grab a Dylan Wright. So, Dylan Wright is a pretty decent defender. So, got some more shooters there with Bradley Beal. So, less pressure on him to score as many points or be effective. So if you have one of them off games, you got some shooters. But I just feel like this team is in that rough division with the other team that they're just not going to just drastically be at the top. I think Kuzma's going to have, a continuous better year. But the biggest question mark is what happens with Kristaps Porzingis. Can he stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
So him and Rui Hachimura, we think he could be great, but what happens is he messes around and gets hurt, and now he's out for a while. And to be honest with you, I think Hachimura is too small to play power forward anyway. I think they need to play him at small forward, in my eyes. So that is who I have at 3. This is where it gets kind of tough. But for me, I'm going to go to Atlanta Hawks at 2. So you got the big trade in DeJounte Murray. Now, it kind of left me kind of like, you know, kind of like what the hell are you doing type because you got your ball handler on Trae Young, but now you have 2 point guards on that team or can score at any point. Now it's going to be interesting when the Hawks and the Magic meet up because DeJounte Murray and Paolo have a little history where they have been disagreeing on a few things. But you go grab DeJounte Murray to complement Trae Young. You got your main guys back. I think they signed Frank Kaminsky as well. So another rotational guy as far as bigs. Also got Mo Harkless. So I think this team is going to be pretty solid. But with that backcourt, they should be one of the best teams in the NBA. I said it, I believe, last year that I felt as if the Hawks needed to get another guard. Now, I was saying they should try to trade for Bradley Beal or somebody. Clearly, that didn't go through. They got DeJounte Murray. The thing is, DeJounte Murray is probably going to be off the ball. So, he can fill that role as the 2 guard. Now, less work for Bogdanovich. Clearly, last year was very inconsistent. So, I think that'll help him out as well as DeAndre Hunter. Still got John Collins there and clearly Clint Capella. So, I like this team. I think that this team is going to be a hell of a lot better. This is going to be one of those teams where, ladies and gents, if you do play FanDuel or DraftKings during the NBA season, you might want to stack this game with whoever they play because they're going to put up a hell of a lot of points. So, and then you're going to have Clint Capella playing a little bit of defense with some blocks here there. So I definitely think that was a big piece, and that's the reason why I have them at 2. Now, number 1 team is clear. It's the Miami Heat. I don't trust Kyle Lowry. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Do you not trust him, like, being in shape or just not coming big in key moments?
Well, I don't trust him health-wise. And so I would say that's more so in shape. It seems as if this is an issue for him. It was a little bit more of an issue before Kawhi Leonard had even got there as well. Before he even get to big moments, he has to be healthy, right? He has to be able to get through the season. Now, granted, he's one of the best defenders as far as taking charges, a good, taking a lot of physical hits. So that's going to be part of his game. But even with that, he's in a culture with Jimmy Butler, with the Bam, that, a Tyler Hero who scored points, that he's not going to be asked for much. And we've seen it last year. Even with the year that he had, the Heat was still one of the better teams in the East. So, and then they top, this conference as well, or this division, I'm sorry. So, I think that the Heat haven't really made a big drop-off. Now, they did lose P.J. Tucker, key defender for them, but I think they can rebound with that. I think they with the leader like a Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley, that front office, I don't think that we see a huge drop-off. But also what helps them is this division is not that competitive. So, like I said, I think the biggest competitor for them is going to be the Hawks. But outside of that, I think it's a huge drop-off. So, like I said, for me, I like the Heat being number 1, following them being the Hawks, Wizards, Magic, making a huge jump, and then the Hornets at 5.
All right. I made my list out. I wrote down everything. I looked at rosters, whatnot. I came out with this list here. Number 5 for me, the Orlando Magic. Now, why did I go with them? I just think, young roster, whatnot. You still got a lot of things, to work out as a young team. A lot of promise, but I don't think they're this year yet. I look at this roster. I see like a starting lineup of Fultz. If I was coaching, I would do Fultz, Suggs, Wagner, Banchero, and Carter as your starting lineup. I think Gary Harris going down with injury will probably free up some more playing time for a lot of other guys now. We'll we'll really continue that youth movement with this squad. Now, my question for Coach Mosley was, are you still going to try and push Jonathan Isaac out there and see what he is? Me personally, I'll go ahead and stop in Carroll and just get things rolling from there. Jonathan Isaac has been in the league for what? 7-8 years or something like that. Let me look just to be on the safe side. Because he entered real early. Let's see.
Yeah, he's very young as well. I know that.
So he's been in the league since 2017. So five years or so. If he really hasn't figured out by the end, and I know the injuries kind of hampered things, but you got a guy in Pancaro who's coming in giftedly better offensively than Isaac was when he was coming in. Let's be real about that, ladies and gentlemen. Paulo Pancaro is more advanced than he was at that age compared to Jonathan Isaac. And the sooner that the Magic is going to throw him out there, I think they'll benefit them in the long run. And I still contend, we talked about the Magic in the past, that you got to trade Jonathan Isaac away and get something back. For who, for what, I don't know. Get some draft compensation. And, down the road when your team's competing and trying to making playoff runs, you can use those picks to add pieces to kind of really, really flush out your roster to really make that championship run that you probably know you're capable of. Because your core of the team should be down the line Pancaro, Wagner, and Suggs. Those should you be three core guys. I don't see Fultz being that guy. It's great that he's making that comeback and whatnot, but I don't think he's going to be the answer at point guard. It odd to me that they brought back Mobamba after they kept on going hot and cold with him ever since he's been drafted. Really strange. I can't blame him turning down the money, but still strange that Orlando spent that money to bring him back. So, I got Orlando 5. Number 4, I got the Charlotte Hornets. Steve Clifford back at coach for this organization. After Kenny Atkinson kind of, went back to Golden State. They brought and just looked around and just snatched up Steve Clifford, even though there's like other viable candidates out there. D-Lock, this team, I look at that roster. I looked at it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, multiple times, like, ugh. It's not really, very good. And I bring up LiAngelo Ball. Or LaMelo Ball, excuse me, sorry. It's been coming out that their camp hasn't been happy with this roster.
Wow.
And I don't blame them. Now, we can say what we say about, we know that camp is LeVar Ball. Let's just be real about that. I understand LeVar's concern about this roster. I would too. Because I'm looking at it, you got a starting lineup of Ball, Oubre, Hayward, P.J. Washington, and Miles Plumlee. Michael Jordan and company got a real potential franchise star in their hands in Ball. They can't possibly mess this up. I know Mitch Kupchak is still there, and he got to figure it out, or he won't get another job as a GM around this league again. How he got this job after the Lakers thing, I'll never know. But you got a nice young kid here in Ball. Got to work on his shooting efficiency and stuff like that. But I'm not liking this roster. And God knows what's going to happen with the Miles Bridges situation as well. Because that situation he got in trouble with cost him a lot of money. And I don't know if things get cleared, if he's going to be even brought back to that organization. But I do understand the Ball's camp concerns. The only thing with the Ball camp, don't overstep your boundaries and kind of mess things up, especially with Mike and crew. That's my only thing. But I see the concerns with this team. And on top of that, D-Lock with this team. We talked about this 2 years ago. Gordon Hayward. Why are you signing him to this big money deal with his injury issues? Last year. I'm pulling up right now.
We definitely talked about that.
He's 32 years old right now. Last year, he only played 49 games. The year before that, 44 for Charlotte. His last year in Boston, 52. This man has the past 3 years, each season, barely played 50 games. And you give him this big, and you chose to give him this big contract, and he's not paid you back in return. This summer, and then also before I move on, for some reason for Charlotte, they decided to give Terry Rozier a big extension for reasons why I don't know. I always say this on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not against players getting their money, wherever sport it is. Get your money when you can. But for these organizations crying about how these players' salaries are and stuff like that, y'all chose to give the contract to these guys. And depending on your situation. The Hornets, the past few years, has always been between 8 and 12 in the standings by the end of the year. Why are you giving guys like Hayward and Rozier big-time contracts if they're not getting past a certain point? And right now, the Hornets are still, I was not say the basement, but they kind of hover around 500. So I got the Hornets at 4. And shout out to the chat. Shout out to Adam Carter. Chat, how you doing tonight, sir? Got your Bears on the background right now. Looking pretty good. Shout out to Taryn Rodriguez. If y'all don't know, y'all don't follow Taryn on Twitter. He does an excellent job on volleyball. Plus, if you're a kid in Southern California, please hook up with Taryn Rodriguez. Especially with football season, he's going around a lot of these schools, Orange County and the surrounding areas, please do hook up with him. Get your name out there. Who knows? Some coach might see your stats, whatever, and might get you hooked and might take a liking to you. So, do hook up with Terry Rodriguez on Twitter. Shout out to Kel Henderson saying, "Let's Las Vegas Aces, baby." Yes, sir. Raiders wet the bed, but the Aces win the championship. And shout out to Mike Pat. Yes, sir, Mike Pat. We're on the Southeast right now. I'm about to talk about the Washington Wizards as my number 3 team. D-Lock, I got Washington number 3.
Okay.
Reason I got Washington number 3. Okay. You brought back Bradley Beal, even though he was stupid to go back. Okay. You got Will Barton. You still got Kuzma in the fold. You traded for Porzingis this past, trade deadline. Bring some other decent pieces. So I'm thinking, y'all gotta make a push or something. If you keeping this guy around, you trying to contend. And when I mean contend, I mean you're not trying to compete for a play-in spot. You gotta at least be 6 and above for me, for Washington. No more middling around, missing the playoffs, missing by a couple games. Y'all gotta at least be the 6th seed or better. I look at the starting line for Washington. I don't know who they go with a point guard first. Either DeLon Wright or Monte Morris. As like, I think they'll roll with Wright first, but it don't surprise me if they go with Morris at point guard. You got Bill at the 2 guard, and then you got Barton at the 3, Kuzma at your stretch 4, and Porzingis at your 5. And then I think for Washington, for me, D-Luck, I think that everything is well. They've been drafting in the lottery and drafting some decent guys, but it's just like none of these guys really have turned the corner yet. I do like Davis from Wisconsin. I think he's be a solid 2 guard. I think if the injuries didn't happen to him this past season in the NCAA, I think he probably could have drafted a little bit higher. But he's a hell of a scorer, and I think that'd be great for them off the bench. And you just bring him along slowly. But I look at the other young guys. Carey, can he step up and be a valuable big man off the bench? Kispert, same thing. Can he be a valuable wing for them off the bench? Huchamara, can he be soft for them? Can he, make some noise, stay healthy, and do something for this squad? And Avaja as well. Talking about guys like 6'9", 6'10", combo forward. Can he bring some production to this team? I think the starting 5 would be fine. What I listed out would be fine. I think those other guys I just listed right there, those are the key pieces that Washington needs to kind of go to the next level. These young guys really got to step up to the plate. They really got to. I know you're probably tired of seeing this team this middle of the road. I'm tired of them too. If they're going to stick with Bradley Beal and him being the face of this team, then damn it, you got to go all in. So I got Washington number 3. Number 2, Atlanta. They traded away Kevin Huerter to the Kings. Not a bad move, It kind of freed up that logjam in the wing that they had. But, with doing that, do you have confidence of Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter staying healthy? And we'll see about that, how that goes by under the season. But you better hope those 2 guys can stay healthy for a good majority of the year. Otherwise, getting rid of a Herter will kind of hurt you in the long run. But I look at the starting lineup for them. I'm going to tell you this, D-Lock. I'm going to like that lineup, backcourt of Dejounte Murray and Trae Young. You got two guys that can play off the ball. I think Murray may be the more primary ball handler for this team. And he can get to the basket. He's a walking triple-double. He's 6'5", very long, can get to the basket easily. And he can create shots. And can suck in the defense. And as we know about Trae Young, if he's on, he's on. I think those two can work very well together. Now, it could not. They gave up a lot for him. But I just seen the potential for this backcourt. They can do some damage. DeAndre Hunter at my 3. Collins at my 4. Even though it seemed like D-Lock, John Collins' time is like, it's like he's due for a trade because his name is just been popping up in rumors for the past year or so.
Yep. I thought he would have been the first one out.
And yeah, you're right. I thought he may be the first one out, but he's still on the team. But we'll see by trade deadline point if they move him. And at center, Capella. But I do like this squad. If everybody stays healthy, I think they can have a bounce back year. And probably have the year that a lot of people expect them to have from last year. But, last year they kind of really wet the bed and whatnot. And we'll see how things shake out for them. Number 1 team, Miami Heat. Can they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals again with this squad? They lose P.J. Tucker, who everybody and their mother knew he was going to sign with Philly. Even during the playoffs, they say, P.J. Tucker, he might sign with Philly after the season. And lo and behold, he did. I look at them and see Lowry at point guard. The two guard spot, I had a little trouble going with. Do they keep Tyler Hero on the bench or do they start him? I went him going to lineup, but it won't surprise me they kick him back to the bench. Butler, Caleb Martin, Adebayo. I think one thing I always brag about this Heat team, D-Lock, is like the way they can find these undrafted guys and plug them into their rotations, and these guys play very well for them. I always brag about the Miami Heat. They have done a great job finding guys and working into their system. And I know Udonis Haslem is great for the locker room there and whatnot, but y'all couldn't make that dude a coach or something. The only reason I say that, D-Lock, is because what I just alluded to, you can't find if you put Haslem in the coaching staff, that's one more spot for like another young guy that you can develop into your own mold. That's why I kind of get back yeah, he's great for the locker room and whatnot, but make him a coach. And finding a young guy that you can develop for your team to kind of keep the things going and do what you got to do for your organization. Now, for Lowry, like you mentioned about Lowry, the pictures I seen of him, he looked pretty good. Looked more shredded. I think, that should go a long way for this team. I do wonder, what move can they make for a player? Because I feel like they need one more piece. Jimmy Butler's great. Adebayo's great. But I think for the Heat, they got good opportunity matchups in the playoffs as we saw. And I think they had a certain piece against the Celtics. I think they could have won that on that series. And I'll put a guarantee on this. They'll do something with Duncan Robinson. They paid that dude all that money, and he really hasn't produced for them. And it kind of stuck. What they do with it, I don't know. But I think
they're going to have to figure out something.
They got to figure out something. And then plus, they're due. And you got Tyler Hero extension coming up soon. You already paid big money to Lowry, Butler, and Adebayo. And Robinson. Hero's due for a contract extension here soon. And you got to do something. So, out of all those teams, I got the Heat, Hawks, and Wizards making the playoffs. And those three teams will be in the top 6 standings by the end of the year. That's my bold guarantee. Heat, Hawks, and Wizards will be in the top 6 in the standings come playoff time. Where exactly? I really can't say.
That's a lot. That's not bad. I mean, like I said, I think that those are some, Hawks and the Heat speak for themselves. The Wizards with the big pieces of getting the Morris and Will Barton.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put them in the fold. Like I said, my only question was just Porzingis. Like,
oh yeah,
Porzingis could be healthy. Like, they got I can't think of his name right now. They traded for him from the damn Bulls. I can't think of his name right now. The center. Dang. Let me go check. I'll go back right back my computer real quick. I think he played with the Bulls anyway. But they, back to it. The Wizards have a decent roster. They got.
Oh yeah.
They got Ruha Hachimura, who I truly think is a small forward. Daniel Gafford. That's what I like. I like him when he get the minutes. So yeah, I'm with you. I just, like I said, my only question is the health that Porzingis can, if he can be healthy. If so, I mean, you got a team in Washington. I mean, I think that's probably one of the better teams we've seen in Washington in years.
Yeah, and I think if the linebacker, I mean not linebacker, I think if the point guard position in Washington, I think if Morris and Wright could just play decently for the year, not do too much, just play within the system and don't create a lot of turnovers. And at least average 4 or 5 assists between the both of them, respectively, throughout the year. I think it'll go a long way for Washington. And like I said, Porzingis, he got to be healthy too. I think for this Washington team to make the playoffs, especially being in the top 6, Porzingis got to be healthy. I know, and we know with these big men, once that injury bug kind of starts going, it really gets going. But you look at Washington, and I'm trying to picture in my head. I mean, you could really stretch out this team. Porzingis can shoot outside. Kuzma can shoot outside, even though he should be driving in more. Barton, we'll see. Like people like Mike Patton, we'll see by the end of November they have a love-hate with Will Barton, like Denver Nuggets fans did. But I really like Washington, and like I said about Washington, those young guys I named out, they really got to step up to the plate. They really got to. If those guys can come in and produce for the squad, I think they'll go a long way for them. And those 5 guys I just named out, you talking about like a team, a 10 deep roster. Not many teams can have that. And let's go back to the other teams real quick. Charlotte, for me, like I said, I mean, yeah, they made the playoff in, but the play-in game, series, but I think they kind of go on a backslide, and they really didn't do nothing. Now, there are the rumors of Russell Westbrook maybe getting traded there. There's always been a long story for Hayward and Rozier, but even if you get Russ, you still kind of scratching and clawing to make a playoff spot. And then for the Magic, like I said, soft pick Harrell for the year. If you see positive trajectory for him, Suggs, and Wagner, I think you're good. And then for the Heat and Hawks, I'll say this about the Hawks real quick before we get off. And the Hawks ain't top 6 or so, D-Lock. I think Nate McMillan may be getting the pink slip. I don't advocate for people losing jobs, but if the Hawks don't get off to a good start in the beginning of the year, I think they may make a change at coach. Because I think from last year you had good. You had excellent expectations from last year, and you talking about another team I did had a deep roster. They had a deep roster as well. I really like. I mean, like we talked about last year, the roster they had. Damn, I really like that roster. Really, very deep. Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich, Gallinari. Trae Young, John Collins, Capella. Forget the other big man's name, but he's solid. But I followed decent. Kevin Huerter, decent team, but that went away. And then Miami. One more thing. Lowry, Butler, they're in their 30s. How much they got in the tank? I think that's one question there as well. I